Card King, here I come. Hello, music fans, music collectors, and all hobbyists. Welcome to the Card King Sports and Variety Show. I'm your host, the Catman, Brian Cataquet, a.k.a. the Card King. We are live on ABC's KMET 1490 AM.com. Your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. I thank everyone for tuning in this morning. And do we have Veta on the line? Okay, so we are awaiting a call from a guest. We can begin the show with little hobby news briefs. And this week, the legendary Dodger broadcaster Vince Scully, for nearly 70 years broadcasting for the Dodgers, Vince Scully, the great Vince Scully, has consigned his personal sports memorabilia collection to an auction company in Pennsylvania. The auction is scheduled to end, or the final day of bidding for Vince Scully's personal items is set for September 23rd. So if you're looking to obtain items from the, some people say the greatest sports broadcaster of all time, Vince Scully, he did consign his personal belongings to an auction company located in the Pennsylvania, Philly area, and the auction is scheduled. Okay, I welcome to the program manager of the legendary group, the Original Coasters, and wife of the late, great Carl Gardner, who was one of the founding members of the group. We welcome in Veta Gardner. Veta, Brian C., thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Brian. It's a pleasure.
Well, first let me begin by giving you my condolences to you and your family. Let's begin by giving us a little history of your upbringing and how you and Carl first met.
Everybody has that question. Well, I was born in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, and I moved to Florida, to America in 1963. And in the 1980s, I moved to Mount Vernon, and I met Carl in the building where we were living.
Mount Vernon, Westchester, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in the Bronx, so I'm familiar with Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I lived in the Bronx for a while, too, in Tilden, right off Tilden Street, Bronx Wood Avenue.
Yes, I'm familiar with it, and now you're in Florida, right?
My oldest son went to Evander Child.
Okay, great. And you moved to Florida?
Yes, Carl and I decided that we were getting too old to stay in the cold.
No, I agree. The winter, as you know, here is brutal.
He had bought some properties years ago in Florida, and we didn't know even where they were located, but we decided when after, one day I know he was paying taxes on these properties. And I said, let's go down and check it out, So we both fell in love with the place. So we decided to build a house on one of the properties that we had. And ever since, I've been here since then.
Well, Veta,
I moved down in 1989.
Carl must have had such a busy schedule throughout his life performing. Can you share with us how were you able to cope with that? He was always on the road, is that correct?
I enjoyed it very much. I was in business. I work in finance all my life. And when I met Carl, and we just became good friends, really. And I decided to help him with his business because I know he didn't have a good manager. And I said, well, I have a degree in business administration. Even though I didn't know anything about entertainment, maybe I could help him. So I started helping him, and we became very good friends. We were just real buddies, like. And then when he asked me to marry him, it took me by surprise, really. And then I tell him I just was out of a divorce, and I wanted to wait a little while first. But finally, I realized that I really liked him enough to marry him. And we decided to get married, and I said, I'll take over your business. So I quit my job in the city that I was working and decided to start I enjoyed traveling on the road. I've been to so many places that I didn't dream of traveling to. And, being with the guys was fun more than anything else. At the time when I started with him, there were only 3 singers because all the other original had left him. So it was only Ronnie and Jimmy and himself as singers, and then they had Thomas Palmer, Curly Palmer, who was their musical director. So that was the group that I really met at the time. So we traveled all over, went to everywhere we could think of, London, everywhere. It was fun. Then after a while, it became work.
No, no, I definitely bet. And the original members of the Coasters, it was Carl, Billy Guy, Willie Jones, and Cornell Gunter. Is that correct?
Actually, the first group were Carl, Billy, Leon, and Bobby Nunn. Bobby
Okay.
and Leon was Bobby was with the Robinsons with Carl. So when Mike Stoller asked Carl to leave the group and come with them, he brought Bobby along with him. And then Bobby asked Leon Hughes, who was his friend. So it was Billy, and Billy Guy was Carl's friend. So it was Billy, Carl, Bobby, anyhow, Bobby,
Right.
and then Leon. So that was the first four. And then 2 years,
Okay.
but then Bobby and Leon, they were fired a year after they were in the group. So then they were replaced by Cornell and Will Jones.
Okay. And now here's a question that you probably asked all the time, but it's new for me. How did the band form that name, the Coasters? How was the name chosen?
Well, what Carl told me is that they were all sitting around a round table, and they were all throwing different kind of names. And he said, we want to go to the East Coast, and, we are here on the West Coast. So why not call it the Coasters? And everybody liked it, so the name stuck.
Now, the Coasters, they're considered the clown princes of rock and roll, right? Because
Right.
a lot of their lyrics were humor and storytelling. Songs like Charlie Brown, Yakety Yak, Searching, Along Came Jones, Poison Ivy. These songs, I feel, pioneered really the way comedy was able to be used with vocals. Would you agree?
It's unbelievable. You're right. It's the funniest thing about it, and plus the fact these guys were real good actors. They were not just singers; they were actors. They perform on stage. They used to do skits actually with some of those songs, and it's amazing how you would. I remember Carl told me that when they were recording "Searching," if you listen to it carefully, you will hear Billy Guy was laughing a little, because they thought it was a funny song and they was never going to be anything. And Searching came out to be a big seller.
Yeah, and there was a lot of competition back then. I think that's really what set the Coasters apart from everyone else, because there was a lot of
Exactly.
great groups, a lot of
Yes.
competition, but no one was really doing what the Coasters were doing back
No,
then.
no, none. A few people later on, like the Cadillacs, they copied a couple of the hits that the Coasters were doing. They did such funny songs. They did a skit called "Tain't Nothing to Me," where the one guy was drunk and he took the other one girlfriend, and it was funny. And the sheriff came on. They did so much things in their policy. We don't do skits anymore because we never have enough time to make changes, because in those days they changed clothes. Like the Along Came Jones, they would change into cowboy outfit and things like that. But today they don't give us much time to perform. We get like 45 minutes each show now, because they're always having a lot of other acts with us.
Right.
But
Well, we have a quick mix of some of those classics we're going to air now for a couple of minutes. Let's play the Coasters. Well, Vita, that's classic stuff.
listen,
Poison Ivy's my favorite.
and the more I hear them, the more I enjoy them.
Well, what comes to mind hearing those classics? What comes to mind?
My husband.
Yeah.
I miss him so much. We were so close. We did everything together. We were like 24/7, But every time I hear those songs, I laugh, because they're really funny. They're really, really funny. Who would ever think of writing songs like that? Two Jewish guys.
Well, those songs paved the way for a lot of the rock bands and music bands, in the late 60s and 70s.
Of course.
Yeah. Now, tell me if this is true, Vita. I read that a young Paul McCartney would look to grab Carl's attention at clubs back in the
Yes,
50s
that's
because he
true.
admired, Carl and the Coasters. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. Actually, it's in his book. I wrote Carl's biography. Um,
Right.
and they came to see him. I think it was in Miami Beach, and they even told him that one of these days he might even hear them record some of the Coasters song, and they did. But
Wow.
they loved the Coasters. They loved even some of the guys from the Rolling Stone. They used to hang out a lot with Carl in New York, and they all enjoy the Coasters music. They say, we learn a lot from you guys. And the Beatles said that when they were in England, they used to hear the Coasters, and they played those songs.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, they pioneered all that sound. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a legendary group in rock, music history.
It's unfortunate that they never get paid for what they did, because those songs were what we call classics. They were classics. I don't think anybody can ever repeat those. Even people try to even imitate them, but they can never be duplicated. They were one.
No,
Those four. Yeah, go ahead.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I said those four guys that recorded all the hits. They were unusual guys. The sound. They had the sound, and they never rehearsed. Never rehearsed.
What's
Carter would
that?
just tell each one, you do this part, you do that part, you do that, and that's it. They were
Wow.
they were they were very, very talented. I have four guys, which is pretty good too, but they will never be like the four originals.
Well, it just came natural. I mean, they were
Yes,
entertainers by nature.
Carl was Carl was a very talented singer. He didn't really want to do rock and roll. He wanted to do pop. He was a good pop singer as a young kid. He started singing pop till he went to California, and he was hoping that he would get into the pop, like Billy Eckstine or and things like that. But the market was bad at the time when he got there, so he said, "I got to eat, so I'll do anything." I was versatile, so I could do everything. So he could sing. He sings. He's the one with the high voice in it, the tenor. Was a tenor in the group, but he could sing baritone if you wanted him to sing baritone. He's very talented.
No question. We're talking to Vita Gardner. Vita, I also read that Jimi Hendrix once played backup for
Yes,
Carl.
yes, that's true. Actually, all
Amazing.
that is in his book. He put that all in his book. Yes, I think his guitar player was sick, and they had to go on tour, and he offered to do it. And Lou Rawls also filled in for Carl once.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. Carl was sick. I think he said he had to have a tooth pull or something like that. And Lou Rawls filled in for him for that tour, sure. A
Wow,
lot of
I didn't
people
know
don't
that.
know these things. Yeah.
And Lou Rawls has that distinct that voice that everyone
Oh God,
knows.
what a
He's got
voice
that
he had. Yeah.
tremendous voice.
And he was
Uh,
really a nice guy. Really a nice
is he
guy.
is he a nice guy?
Very nice guy. I met him only once. Real nice guy. He was friendly and warm. And
Right.
I was.
Now
Go ahead.
now you mentioned you've written several books. Let's talk about some of the books you wrote. You're also an established author.
Yes.
Let's go through some of the books you wrote.
The first book I wrote was
Let's
my
see.
life story, which was, I don't know if that's interesting. But my first book I wrote was Beyond a Dream. It tells of my years growing up in the island of Jamaica and coming to the States with my, three baby boys. and living the American dream, sending them, my boys to school here and getting a good education. I was fortunate. I did business in Jamaica, actually. I went to business school in Jamaica. So when I came here, I was able to get a good job. And the first job I had was with American Express. And I worked with American Express for 3 years. And then I went and got my children to come. Went back to get my kids because I was here for a year without my boys. And my husband and the children came up at the time. And I decided to go back to school and take a degree. And my kids, when my mom was thankful, fortunately, my mother-in-law came up and she was able to watch the boys while I work and go to school. So it was very, very hard at first because having 3 small boys, it was not very easy at that time. But I made it, and then after I left the business world and started managing the coasters, it was a different life for me. Really, it was not something I had envisioned at all. I never dreamed that I would ever, after I got my divorce, I said, I'll never marry again. I'll never marry again. And, well, sometimes destiny has a way of just popping up in right places. So it was really interesting, life for me, the changes, and I talked about my life in Jamaica, what it was like. And then I decided to write Carl's book after that. And then it is really, I taped it. Most of it was from tape and verbal, some of it was verbally that he told me. And I was glad that I was able to do that before he got ill because I would have a hard time. Even with then, I had a hard time to get him sit down to work with me on that book. But that was one. And then the last book I wrote Memories of You, which I wrote. And I'll be honest with you, I cried through writing the whole book because I wrote my life with him and the ending of our life together. And it was really a sad part for me to write, especially the way he was at the end. Carl was one of the sweetest, gentlest person you could ever know. And if you ask 100 people, they'll tell you the same thing. I've not heard one person say one thing bad about Carl. And really, he made me laugh a lot. He was funny. People never realize. I said to sometimes, you see him on stage, is this charismatic guy get up on stage and, he's funny. He was very funny and shy.
Was he shy? Was he really?
Very shy. Oh my God! I would say something, and he said, "Don't say that. Don't say that." But
So, yeah, and also Carl wrote a book, right? Was it called Yakety Yak?
Yakety Yak. I changed the title, same book, but I changed the title recently. It's on Amazon, and instead of Yakety Yak, I Fought Back. I changed the title to Yakety Yak, the Carl Gardner story. It's on Amazon.
So for our audience, let's mention these books again. Now, our audience listening, they can go on to Amazon, and these books are available.
Yakety Yak, the Carl Gardner story, and the other one is Memories of You, and both by Veta Gardner.
Okay, Memories of You, and then Beyond the Dream, right?
Yeah. Beyond the Dream is my life story.
Okay, now, so people can go on to Amazon. Now, you also have the website, theoriginalcoasters.net.
Yes, theoriginalcoasters.net, and I think I have it up on there, too.
Okay, great. Theoriginalcoasters.net. That's the website.
Right.
Now, I only have a few minutes left, Veta. A personal question, if I may. I read, what was the deal with Dick Clark Productions? And, you can answer it if you want. Was there like a lawsuit between Dick Clark Productions?
Because they put there was a show put on in somewhere I'm not sure. I know whether it was Alabama or New Orleans, somewhere in the South, and at a casino, and they advertised the coasters, and I said, Carl owned the rights, the trademark rights, and they was putting on a show, and I couldn't believe that Dick Clark of all person who know, but it wasn't really him. It was his agent or somebody, and put on a fake group and calling them the Coasters. So we filed suit against. Well, we made a settlement. We didn't go to court or anything. We had a settlement.
Okay, because the Coasters appeared on Dick Clark's show back in the 50s.
That is what surprised Carl, because he said Dick and I were good friends. He said we even in the swimming pool together. So he said he was surprised. But it's Olive Production, I think, is the name of the company at the time. I think it's Olive Production, and I don't know who this guy was, but he is the one who booked this. But so we finally, and I think it's because of the drag out, it would be drawn out for a long time, and, Carl said, okay, I'll settle. So we it wasn't a big settlement. It was a very menial settlement, but we decided to take it. But we have had several lawsuits with these people running scams, fooling the public and all that, and people need to know when they go to a show to find out. Now, what I want to say to the public here, we never say that the group is the original. We always say it's the continuation of the original group. We are not a tribute group. We are the continuation of the original group, because one of the guys actually sang with Carl. So it's a continuation. And these were handpicked guys, except one that came after his death. But Carl unpicked these guys. He interviewed them himself. They sang with him while he was alive, So it's the continuation of the original group. So people want people to know that when they see the Coasters advertised, make sure that they are the people who own the right to the name, because a lot of phony groups are out there. They go when you catch them, they change it to a John Brown Coasters or somebody else Coasters. That then you have to go to court. It's a pain in the neck, really.
Right. So, there's a lot of imposters out there. So we want to go onto your website, theoriginalcoasters.net.
Yes.
That's the official website. There you can see the brief history, tour dates, and all that information.
Well, talking about tour dates, I don't know if you went recently, but you see how many of my dates were canceled? Everything canceled for this year. Nothing until next year.
I know. It's terrible. They're telling me I have a few seconds left.
Yeah. All our shows were canceled for this year, from February all the way down.
It's just it's a terrible year.
Yeah,
but
everybody. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Any final words, Veta, for the audience?
Well, yes, for the audience, I just want to say thanks for those who support the Coasters over the years, and I know I'm very appreciative of it. And continue to visit my website, and whatever changes I'm making, I'll always put it on the website. We also recorded a live show at the Alabama Theater, and we have the album. So if anybody's interested, they can call me, or my number is on the website. They can call me and get me and order them if they want. Christmas album, we have another one we have 2 different albums out, actually, that the Coasters, it's on the website anyhow. They can always call me, and if they were interested, I'll be happy to send it to them.
Well, Veta, I'm a big fan. Thank you so much for being on and hearing you and those fantastic songs by the Coaster. I mean, it's such a positive distraction, from what's going on in the world today.
Yes. Oh, Brian, I don't know, but if you knew, but we just did a virtual.
And that's on the website?
I don't think they put it out, because they told me it's only one time it was done. It's by Larb Enterprises, and I think it's off. I downloaded it, but I have it with me on download. I don't know if I could send it to you, but I can't play it, so it's just for you to see. But what I can do, Brian. I think your address is on the letter, right?
Yes, send me an email, and we'll promote that.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Yes, but these guys, if you hear them sing, as a matter of fact, somebody told me, one of my guys, when the first time they heard, I personally, when I heard him sing down in Mexico, it sounded just like Carl.
Oh man, they tell they telling me I have a few seconds left. I appreciate it. We'll keep in touch. Send me that email.
Yes,
I'll
please
promote
do,
it.
and I'll email you and send it. Get your address and send it to you. You have a copy of the book,
thanks.
right? You have a copy of his book.
Thanks so much, Vita.
Do you have a copy of his book? The book?
I don't, but I'll speak to you right after the show.
Okay, all right.
All right. Thanks for being on.
You want me to hang up and?
Yeah, I'll get back to you after the show. Thank you so much. That
okay,
was
Brian. It's a pleasure.
Veta
Gardner,
talking
with
the
you.
original Coasters.
Yeah.
Until next week, happy collecting to all.